Good afternoon. On this edition of the Sacred Writings, I'm going to just do a quick Bible highlight video of two particular Bibles that are made for two particular needs. And they're both New American Standard Bibles. They're both new editions that the Lockman Foundation has produced. And they both have some common features and some very different features. So the first one is giant print reference edition here. Flip it over here, the back cover. This is a 14-point font size, single column text, but in the poetry, it's a 2-column verse by verse. The words of Christ are in red. The references are at the end of the verse, actually the end of the page. It also has a few footnotes at the end of the page. It depends on the passage. And the presentation page in the front, family records page, in the back, book introductions, color maps, dictionary, concordance. And this is just a little preview of what you'll find in the single column text. The single column text occurs in all the New Testament books because they're narratives and letters and poems. While Old Testament books, some of them are in double columns, particularly such as the book of Isaiah. That's a lot of prophecy. Jeremiah. Ezekiel is not, and a few other books are not, and then a few other books are. So it's a change up depending on what kind of Old Testament book it is and what the translation team decided to format. Well, Lockman decided to format it as. I guess in their mind, if the book contained more prophecy than poetry, they put it in a 2-column. If it was a little more, if the book contained more prophecy and poetry than narrative, they put it in a 2-column format. If it was more narrative, they kept it in a single column. So this is a view here. This Bible is synthetic letter, blind stamping. I really like what Lockman is doing with their synthetic letters. All their covers, actually. But I really like how clean that looks. It's very subtle, but very clean. So just open it up real quick here. And you can notice the font is humongous. I have a 13 font LSB giant print reference. This is bigger. You can definitely tell it. I may do a video review or comparison of the two. And this is the single column. This is Genesis, Numbers. So all the first 5 books and some more are single column. They even did it in certain texts in the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel and Kings. And of course, when you get to the Psalms, double column, verse by verse. I like the look of it, actually. I like the fact that they did decide to do this. Although I would say probably my favorite format, if you're going to do different formats in the book, a whole Bible, I really like the Sovereign Collection that they did. 2-column paragraph. When it's in the, a couple translations have that, or 2-column verse by verse if you're talking about the King James. But I'm thinking of the RSV. They did the 2-column paragraph, and then when they did the Psalms and Proverbs, they did a single column. I feel like that was a home run, grand slam. But this is pretty close. I like that it gives you some relief in the prophecy books, 2-column verse by verse, and then when you just read straight narrative. Ezekiel contains a lot of narrative. You went to the single column paragraph. Again, this is a red letter. I wish they just would have did it a black letter, but I will say the red is pretty dark and pretty consistent. So it's done pretty well. All the New Testament is paragraph. And like I said, at the end, they have a concordance here. They said it had the introductions of the book of the Bible. I don't remember it being in this particular edition, so it may be a mistake that they had on the back. But it's a pretty good sized concordance. And at the end, you have the maps. So Not sure why they had that there and it wasn't a feature. It probably was just an oversight. no big deal. So this Bible is for someone that really needs large print or giant print. You might have some vision problems, and you need a good Bible to read through and study through. It has a good number of cross-references. It does not have the full translation notes that you will find in the New American Standard, the regular editions, like the side column reference that Lockman produces, or the large print ultra thin reference. But I think they're pretty sufficient how they did it with the cross references. They're selective with the translator notes. I still think it was a good job how they did it. Good study. This is a great Bible for me. I don't really need a giant print, but if I wanted to sit at a desk, read for a long period of time, and a nice comfortable print, not to think about, okay, I'm looking at a 9-point font and I'm squinting, this is a good choice here. But of course, if you're older person or have vision problems, this is an excellent choice. And I think Lockman did a great job with having this as an offering and a better format, in my opinion. Paragraphs are better formats than the typical verse by verse. But of course, verse by verse has their place when you're doing studies or preaching. Very easy to locate your text there. But just for reading and some study at a desk, you can even preach out of this, by the way, but I think they did a good job for this particular purpose. And then they did another Bible, which really I thought was quite different for the Lockman, quite a new thing. So they did this Dyslexia friendly Bible. And I'm going to flip over some of the specs here, and you can see they gave you a preview of the text. I showed it to my kids, and they said, hey, this looks like cartoon or some other language. So it is a little bit shock when you see it. It's getting used to it, unless you really do have dyslexia. I feel like I have a touch of something. I'm not sure if I'm dyslexic or not, but I know I do struggle to read at times. But I would say, even looking at the font, it was a little bit different. But it has a clear reading type. It is line match, as they say. They have this particular Open Dyslexic 3 font. It's the first time I ever heard of that font. 2-column text, cross references, very similar to the giant print. The cross references are at the bottom. Translator footnotes are at the bottom. Paragraph formatting, so very similar to the giant print, except it's a double column. Very similar to the giant print. The words of Christ in red. I wish they offered a black letter option. I know that I've mentioned that I don't love red letter, but if you're going to do it, I think you should always have an option for people that prefer black letter. But I will say, just like the giant print, although it's a red letter, it's pretty consistent for the most part. It's a darker red. It's not a bright red or pinkish red. It has book introductions in the back, a reading plan. You got the miracles of Jesus, parables of Jesus, important events in the life of Christ, and God's promises. And so I'll just flick through it briefly here. So again, very different font style. This is a book of numbers. So what this type of font for someone with dyslexia, they highlight certain letters rather. So that A, see that A is a little more different variation and shade than some of the other letters. But what I noticed about this Bible, I just started getting into it the last few days. I got the giant print first, and I read through that. I was reading through the Gospel of John, really enjoyed reading it in a single column format, looking at the Psalms, comparing it with other translations. I like the format of it. But then I got into this, and one of the things I noticed was the spacing. It's excellent, actually. The layout is actually my preferred layout. 2-column paragraph, references and notes at the bottom, so you get that great reading experience, but still have tools if you want to do some study. The spacing is excellent, so it's clear. You got good spaces between words and between lines. One of the things that can be annoying with paragraph format in particular, but also some verse by verse, is the spacing can be very bad. But this is very open look to me. and that's probably why they designed it. So it makes it easier to read. Of course, it's line match. Despite the type of font, I got used to reading it a little bit, so I definitely do like it. I like it a lot. But I would prefer if they just kept the spacing great and gave me a comfort print text or comfort print font, and give a black letter option. Those are the two things I would change. But other than that, I think it's a great Bible. It's not necessarily a deal breaker. You know, I think I can get used to the font and even the red letters, because this is a reader. This is a really good reader for me. Again, the format is excellent. The spacing is excellent. It's just a smooth, clean look. One of the things about someone that struggles with dyslexia is the fact that a page can look pretty cluttered, pretty busy. That can be a distraction. This is not at all. Yes, it takes some time getting used to the font, but other than that, it's a good reading experience. And like I said, in the back, they have a few things here. So introductions to the Bible. And then they have a few charts here, like parables of Christ, miracles of Christ. This is standard here in some of the Lockman editions. So they didn't change the font to make it the same as the text. This does not have maps, by the way. So you're at a disadvantage if you like maps when you're reading. Maybe you can copy and paste some maps to the back. But it does have a few pages of blank paper. So I thought that was pretty good. Oh, and by the way, they have read through the Bible in a year. So they gave you a little plan here. So overall, two great additions by the Lockman Foundation for two different needs. So again, if you have problems reading and you don't want many distractions and you don't need a giant print, this is sufficient. This is a 10.5 font. I find that font size is my sweet spot. So between a 10 and 11, 10 and a half, 11, that's ideal for reading long periods of time. Of course, if you need a little more help, the giant print, which I would say anything over 12 is considered giant print. You have the 14 print font, 14-point font, and it's very big. So you wouldn't have any problems reading this for a long period of time. So great job by the Lockman Foundation. I highly recommend these Bibles. Grace and peace. This is the end of my video. Lord willing, I will do a review of these Bibles or some kind of comparison at a later time. Take care. God bless. Peace.